What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Guarani Vision. Welcome to the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me as always are my three great co-hosts, Federico Perez, Maria Britos, and Ralph Hanna. And as you may know, guys, I'm in a different location, and I've actually decided to fly south for the winter and miss a 2 feet snowstorm that's currently happening in the Northeast, to go straight to Paraguay and head to the motherland for a little Christmas vacation just to relax, and that's all. But let's go to someone who's probably a couple of miles away from me. I could probably take an Uber and go visit Fede right now. But Fede, how are you, man? It's good to finally be here in the motherland after quite some time. How are you?
I'm great, Roberto. Oh, it's so different. It's so nice to see you here in Paraguay. I think people will actually know you're in Paraguay because of that AC behind you. You don't find that in Connecticut. You don't find that around USA. You are in Paraguay, so I'm really happy about that. We'll probably see each other in the next couple of days, Enjoy your time of holidays. A lot of people coming to the country. It's that time of the year where a lot of people come from Europe. We have a lot of Paraguayans in Spain. We have a lot of Paraguayans in the U.S. also. A lot of them do come in December to visit their family members. And thankfully, you can fly now, right? A couple of months ago, it was just impossible. Maybe Roberto was doubting about that also. A couple of weeks even. It probably was a different trip also for you this time. And we have so much to talk about, right? Probably one of our last episodes of 2020. I'm so happy about what we're doing, and we got so much going on, even though holidays are almost on top of us. The Paraguayan League is almost over. We have Libertadores also coming into their last stages. We have what's going on with the women's football. We have so much to talk about in this show. I just want to get it going. I want to go to Florida also and see how our guys are doing. I'm sure there's no snow in Florida, but they are probably having some trouble with the cold, or it's not like that. How is everybody doing? How's Ralph? Maria? Let me go to Maria first. Ladies first. How are you, Maria?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm excited, and it's the last episode of 2020, like you said, so it's pretty cool. I'm happy to have spent all this. I don't know, it's been a couple of months now, so it's been cool. It's been a cool project with you guys. But yeah, super happy that the holidays are here. We got like a week left, exactly a week for Christmas, and then 2 weeks for New Year's. Hopefully 2021 is a much better year for us and for everyone else in the entire world. But a little down that our Libertad ended up leaving, but we kind of expected it last time that we spoke. But yeah, like you said, I'm happy to hear and talk about women's football as well. I think that's very interesting and exciting projects coming up with the CONMEBOL and the president giving some cool announcements, and I'm looking forward to listening to that. But yeah, and then we got some great Paraguayans abroad that we want to mention and see how they're doing. A lot of players not in Paraguay and doing great, shining on the spotlight. But yeah, and actually tomorrow it's supposed to be cold here in Florida, in Miami. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. We had a little rain here.
Define cold, Maria. Define cold.
Anything under 60 degrees. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's
Okay.
pretty much cold. Even 65 is a little chilly for us. But yeah. How about you, Ralph? How's it going?
Yeah, good. Enjoying this last bit of sunshine. I was in my shorts and flip-flops today because it was nice and hot. But like Maria says, it's getting cold. I'm tomorrow driving up to Tennessee for some real cold weather where it's like below freezing right now. So I'm taking the wife and kids because they want to see some snow. So we're getting all into the festive spirit here, but yeah, back on football. I mean, a lot of stuff's going on. There's not just the Paraguayan League coming to this kind of this end and the playoffs, but we got all these things happening with the players outside of Paraguay. So there's the CONCACAF Champions League right down the road in Orlando with some Paraguayan representation there. So lots of stuff to talk about and get through today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely, guys. We got a lot to talk about, and let's go first, unfortunately, to the news that Maria had alluded was the elimination of Libertad in the Copa Libertadores, losing to 3-0 to Palmeiras, a convincing Palmeiras side that continues to demonstrate that they are one of the favorites to win the Copa Libertadores. I mean, Fede, we had alluded it before the start of the show. It's almost as if, though, for this Libertad side, they've always been consistent performing in Copa Libertadores, qualifying to Sudamericana, winning league titles, always trying to do consistently well. But with the backing that they have, with Horacio Cartes' influence to say, getting players on high wages and honestly having probably the most money than any club in Paraguay at the moment, it's just not good enough. They've just been underwhelming in the international competition. So I just want your immediate thoughts after the elimination from the game against Palmeiras, and what's next as we enter 2021 for Libertad.
Well, first of all, talking about the game itself, both of the games against Palmeiras, I think Libertad should have scored at least a goal. They had so many chances, right? They were so close and so many chances. Even when they were down, Tito Villalba's chance was amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe he didn't even score that. I mean, I couldn't believe Libertad wasn't in the fight itself versus Palmeiras, and Palmeiras obviously did their job and took it their way. With a big difference after all in the result itself. But, we do have to talk about what you're saying, Roberto, the big project, right? What is the big project in Libertad? Who takes the decisions? Are they being made correctly? Because you have all these coaches that have been through Libertad lately, and none of them have been successful. Even this year itself, Ramon Diaz, that was a big bet from the get-go from Horacio Cartes, who brought him, and this guy had a big career, and I think he was looking for a place like Libertad, and he just, because of COVID, because of everything that happened, maybe also, but he never made it out to be what people were expecting of him, of the team itself, the whole year. Libertad has just one of the best squads, and they again this year let the whole I believe Paraguay itself down. Not only Libertad fans. I was waiting a lot more out of them, but I don't know what's going to happen, because you have a lot of players here in Libertad that are obviously on the last part of their career, and we'll see if they start changing, if they actually look more into their youth players, or what's the project itself going to be. But till now, I got to be honest with you, Horacio Cartes is just failing on the decisions that he's making year after year, because Libertad is all about Horacio Cartes. He's the one that puts the money to bring the players. He's the one that has the meeting with the head coaches that come to Libertad. He runs the club itself. So I don't know what Libertad's project, I don't know where they see the future, but this is not the right way to go.
Yeah, I think first talking about the game itself, it was very disappointing. I mean, Libertad in that first half where they had to score, not only did they go 1-0 down, they only had one shot on target. And it's kind of, you got to be pushing here to try and find a result. And in the end, they lost 3-0. And to be honest, I mean, they never really looked, even before Ivan Pires is sent off in the second half, they never really looked like they were going to do enough to be able to score 2 goals in Brazil. What they've achieved with Cartes is they have become very consistent in qualifying for these competitions, right? So they're pretty much qualified for 2021. It'd be very, there's a slight chance they might not be, but it would be very, mathematically very strange if they went in next year. And that's going to be the 17th time in the last 19 years that they're in the Libertadores, which, that's pretty much since Cartes took over about 20 years ago, more or less. So in that sense, he's got them to that level where they're very consistent in being the best in Paraguay and making sure they're in the international competition. But he needs to go one step more, because this is a team that what they want to do is eclipse somebody like Olimpia that has actually won the Libertadores 3 times. Because yes, they've won the most titles in the 21st century in Paraguay domestically, but what they really need is that silverware at international level. And like Fede is saying, they haven't been able to find this formula, be it the coaches. They tried with youth players when they're very successful. They had a really successful string of youth players that we could talk about, people that helped them to a lot of league titles. They brought in a lot of players from abroad, but they're just kind of not finding the right balance. So I think where they start is with the coach, and there's rumors that they might be looking for Daniel Garnero, who was the coach of Olimpia, which is an interesting choice, because if you think of Garnero, he's somebody who won everything domestically, but he failed really with Olimpia in the Libertadores. So I don't know what Maria thinks, because I know she follows Olimpia a lot, but are they following that same pattern of Olimpia, where they're going to be dominant domestically, but not in the Libertadores? And is that really what they want with somebody like Garnero?
Well, I'm not sure if they'll follow in Olympia's footstep, because they have been dominating in the domestic cup, like you said, but in the international spotlight, I think this is one of the few times that they ever made it this far. I'm not sure if you know correctly, Raf. I don't know it on the top of my head, but I think little by little they're getting there. And yes, I do agree. They need to find a coach that's more that can take them there, that can take them into the international stage, Libertadores, even Sudamericana. If they can get there one day and win it, that'll be another great accomplishment. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a while that Cartes has been in charge of this club, and to me, it just kind of feels like it's a side project for him. And I'm not sure if he really puts that much effort into this club like it should be, because it has so much potential. And it's sad that it's not getting to there. It's just we only have Cerro and Olimpia that are more internationally known, and we got to get clubs like Libertad and Guarani out there. But if Cartes can really find himself a better board and find more managers that can look forward and think ahead and see the future rather than just the now, I think that would be a much better option for Libertad.
I didn't hear your opinion about Garnero going to Libertad, because here in Paraguay, Maria, I got to tell you, fans of Olimpia are going crazy about these things, because they see like that Cartes is a big responsible of Marcos Trovato's deal, getting out of the football image, and now they're going after that head coach. They're going after the coach that gave them all those titles. So it's like I'm gonna go after the best thing that you had lately. So fans are taking it that way also, Olimpia fans, and it's not a pretty sight to see. It's a fight. You read what's going on social media, and it's kind of divided. Even though Cartes is beyond football itself, because he was president of this country, so there's a lot of mixed things that also go around when people actually sit down and discuss with their family members, or just in any discussion. When you talk about Cartes, that's just getting richer and richer and more powerful by the day here in Paraguay.
No, I think what is Cartes without drama? So this is the perfect opportunity for him to get himself out there again and snatch Olympia's former amazing coach that they had. And I mean, if he does end up going there, I think he could do great things, because he was a good coach for Olimpia. It just ended up being a bad run for him. But as an Olimpia fan, it'll be like a stab in the heart, but it is what it is. It's business, but like I said, what's Cartes without some drama in there?
Yeah, no, and obviously this is also coming in the fact that Olimpia, with their other coach that they have in Nestor Gorosito, he hasn't been exactly convincing. So it's almost feels as if what happened there? Why didn't we just keep with him and just go on? It's weird, but like you said, it's always drama when it comes to Horacio Cartes. I mean, it's just how it works, honestly. But no, again, I think Libertad definitely need to understand what their message is, what their mindset is, what they really want to achieve. I think with the money that they have, and as we said, it's always difficult for these Paraguayan teams to fight with your Brazilians and your Argentine teams that are going to be in the semifinals of the Libertadores. It's tough. It really is. But I think with that kind of influence and stuff that Cartes has, you would think maybe he can help them be much better. But it's going to be a long path for them, honestly. But we will see what happens in 2021, and if they really are focused on actually going for something that they want to win. And that's obviously something internationally. Doesn't have to be the Libertadores. It could be Sudamericana, but they need to win something because they definitely need some sort of recognition. Some similar to Cedro in a way as well. Okay, Cedro are more in a different case because they've never been to a final as well, but it's that kind of scenario. If you get what I'm saying, I mean, Fede, it's almost as if for Libertad they just need to focus on that. I think it's all good. It's all fun and games to win your domestic titles or a Copa Paraguay, but they need an international title. That's always been their ambition.
Yeah, I actually think that Libertad wants to be always between Cerro Porteño and Olimpia, and that's hard. That's a hard shadow to follow because of all the people that are behind, all the money that's behind those big projects, right? Every year, Cerro Porteño and Olimpia have to be champions, so it's always hard for Guarani, for Libertad, for other clubs to get a chance at the trophy. But Libertad, they had a gold moment. They had a best moment. When Horacio Cartes was, I believe, like Maria said, 100% on Libertad. I don't think he is 100% right now either. That could be a big factor. You have someone that's on the desk, that's not on the practices, making the decisions. But it is, I believe, like you're saying, it's going to be a long path for them. And I think they just have to take it step by step and try to have a team that's stable in time and make it strong. And because this team doesn't really need to sell. They've had so many players that could have left this country, that could have gone to big teams, but Horacio Cartes' money, his wallet, he has the brakes on those deals, and he just has a meeting with the players, and is done. They have a better contract with Libertad, and they stay almost all their career in Libertad, and that's what's been happening lately. If you see the squad that even played this last Libertadores.
Absolutely. And as we stick into leaving from the Paraguayan teams, we will leave them, but we do have to mention the Paraguayans abroad as well. I mean, we've seen quite a few action, you would say, from a lot of Paraguayans. I mean, you can pick and choose all the moments that are going on, but, we got things going on in England with Miguel Almiron scoring his first Premier League goal. We saw Eric Lopez hitting the pitch finally for Atlanta United, even though they got out of the Copa the CONCACAF Champions League against Club America, which Richard Sanchez is also on the team. We saw Carlos Sanchez leaving, heading from Pumas, who lost that final in the Liga MX final to Lyon, heading over there to Tigres. We got Lorenzo Megarejo as well scoring. I mean, Ralph, this was a huge thing, I think, because I think for someone like Lorenzo Megarejo, he was someone that we had talked about beforehand about getting back on the national team, getting back on the radar, getting that kind of mention from Eduardo Berizzo. He's really putting his stamp on why he should be on the national team come March, scoring in these important games against none other than Boca Juniors in the Copa Libertadores.
Yeah, it was a big goal, a lovely diving header to get that winner against Boca. And Melgarejo, I think I've said before on the show, I mean, he's always a useful player for those squads because he's so versatile. I mean, the guy, he played at left back, left wing. He's played up front. Yesterday was like that kind of striker's goal. So I think, it's a good moment for him. He's definitely, I think he's getting more headlines than his teammate there, Mati Rojas, who, I've heard from some Racing fans, they're thinking, is he really the player that they need in the middle there? Because, they were looking at other players at the time of his signing. So I think Melgarejo is getting those plaudits, which is great. You also mentioned Eric Lopez here in the US. So, I mean, a lot of people were asking me yesterday, well, why did the coach never play him before? But the reason wasn't that it was a coaching decision, but more like a kind of quota system that they have here in the US. So they didn't actually have a space for him on the roster. So they had to wait until now some contracts are up. This is actually a different tournament as well. It's not the MLS. So he was registered and able to play in the CONCACAF Champions League, where he played against another Paraguayan player that we all know, Richard Sanchez. And although Atlanta won on the night last night, it's America that go through to the next stage. And usually the Liga MX teams are the more dominant sides in this CONCACAF Champions League, even though they're playing at the moment in neutral ground in Orlando. But yeah, I think it's been nice for some of these young players or some of these, let's say, the squad players of Berizzo to be doing well and getting their chances. And it's not just here, right? I mean, Miguel Almiron scored, of course, for Newcastle, right, last week, and I think there's players, doing well in Europe as well right now. I don't know if you guys wanted to jump in and tell us about some of those, because I could talk all night about all these players doing well abroad.
Well, I wanted to also point out Gustavo Gomez, that even though Libertad, he eliminated Libertad, I think he deserves a good round of applause, because he's out there and he's taking Palmeiras again to the semifinals, and that's pretty big. I think he was subbed out last game, so he only had like a few minutes until the halftime, and he played. But I think he's becoming bigger and bigger by the match, by the minute, and he's one of the bigger games. I like we've said before, I wish he could play like that more in the national team. So hopefully this kind of gives him more of his wheels going, and hopefully he works on his work for the national team. But yeah, I thought that was a good thing for Paraguay.
I'm so happy that Miggy got a goal, because it's so hard to score on that Newcastle team, man. They don't attack that much. I'm so happy about Miggy. He should celebrate it big, because he's not going to get that many this season. We'll see if he stays all season in Newcastle. I'm following our strikers also. I was seeing that Christian Colman is scoring a lot of goals in Barcelona, the ex-Dallas FC. He's 26 years old. I think he's in a really good age to follow what he does from now on till March. Mainly, I think Berizzo needs to open his radar, also look back at what Carlos Gonzalez is doing. Roberto mentioned him. He had a great season and will probably change up teams. Brian Samudio is always scoring also in the Turkish league, and he hasn't gotten a chance as our front man. And you look at all these players that are scoring, and you're eventually going to have to take a decision also on who's going to be our center forward. So I believe, you have to follow these players. If one of these players are hot, you should count them in for March. We're not that far away from those next games.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously, time goes fast. You got competitions heating up, with this whole different format. So you're going to get a lot of games happening in such a short amount of time, be it in South America, be it in North America, Europe, wherever. It's important. I think Berizzo understands that. Thankfully, he has a good list of players that he can choose, but it's all about just finding the right pieces that will help them, hopefully, when the games do come back in March. So we'll definitely have to see what happens. And yeah, like you said, we also Roberto Rojas, who, at the time of this recording, River Plate haven't qualified yet for the Copa Libertadores semifinals, but they do take a 2-0 lead against Nacional of Uruguay. But assuming that they do go through, that is another good achievement. We get to see another Paraguayan. It would also give I was looking at a little stat the other day of how over the last couple of years, I would say, that we've seen a Paraguayan win the Copa Libertadores. We saw Piris da Mota win it with Flamengo. We saw Jorge Moreira win it with River. We've seen Ortigosa win it with San Lorenzo. So it's a streak that's been going on for a lot of these Paraguayan players winning the competition. And so let's hope that all continues heading for
So we put on the Racing shirt now? So we put on the Racing shirt now?
I mean, we can get the Racing shirt. We can get the Palmeiras shirt. We can get the River shirt. I mean, all up to you guys. I mean, it's a win-win, hopefully, depending on who goes to the final. But yeah, it's been good to see, at least for the Paraguayans itself, giving some sort of joy in the Libertadores rather than the Paraguayan teams. But before we close it out here, Fede, we do have some really good news, actually, that's coming from CONMEBOL. We're going to escape the men's game and actually go into the women's game, talking about what's been going on there. And ironically, on the day that we get the FIFA The Best Awards, where we saw Lucy Bronze win the best women's player in the world at the moment. Fede, what's going on in the women's game so far in CONMEBOL? What do you got in terms of information?
Yeah, they're trying to motivate the women's game. We've seen this going on from FIFA. We see it going on from CONMEBOL, especially ever since Alejandro Dominguez took CONMEBOL as a president, and he looks like he's going to stay there on the chair for a while. And so he's proposing stuff. He's throwing out there for the women's game, and there's a congress going on here in Paraguay in CONMEBOL about women's football. regarding South America itself. And there, Dominguez, today, the president made an important announcement. I think, we could have even started out with this because the announcement itself is that we are going to have Copa America, where the national teams play the women's game every 2 years. That's going to happen ever since 2022. And then there's also the creation of the Intercontinental Cup between clubs, because we already have Libertadores for the women, and now the champion of Libertadores is probably gonna get a chance against the champion of the Champions League of women's, right? Which is a very strong competition in Europe. That's what's gonna happen, I believe. We'll see if maybe we even have a World Cup itself, because for the clubs, for the men's game, you have a big tournament. So maybe for now it's just a proposal coming from CONMEBOL. This has to go through FIFA. But I believe if Dominguez is making this announcement, is because we are going to have the South American champion eventually have its chance against a European champion, or maybe, like I'm saying, an African champion or a nation champion. But at least the girls are going to have a real important match, international match, and it's going to put the South American women out there. They're going to be seeing, and probably this is going to help them grow, and we're going to have more women come out of Paraguay and go into Europe. We're seeing what's going on with Jessica Martinez in Real Madrid. We're following her career. We're following the career of so many other Paraguayans, but we also can talk about the South American women in football itself. We have so many good players right now going on, and I'm always encourage fans to follow them.
Yeah, and Maria, this is actually a good segue to you, because I know you would have definitely a lot to speak on about this, but I think it's very important for the South American players who, have that dream of going to Europe, where you get all the best players in the world. You get, I think Wolfsburg's the champion, if I'm not mistaken, in the Champions League. But you have great teams in Germany, France, England, Spain. You have all that kind of good teams and good players. And for the South Americans, they want to gain that experience. They want to play against the best and to show that, hey, these girls can compete for in the sports, in what obviously has been growing and growing and growing over the last couple of years. And I think as we are in a new decade, it should be a decade of change for the women's game, and hopefully for South America and for Paraguay as well.
Definitely, Roberto and Fede. I was about to mention the same thing, and it's extremely important that we have individuals like Alejandro Dominguez that want to have the women's sport out there and want to integrate it and make it grow, especially in South America, that it's not as big as in Europe. Like you said, you have bigger countries like Spain and Germany and all other countries out there in Europe, in the USA, for example, as well. But in South America, you don't hear about it a lot, and it's about change, and it's about time that we need to hear. I think we hear more about Brazil and their bigger stars, but not much, other countries, especially Paraguay. So I think it's great. It's a starting point, and it's fantastic. I'm so excited for it, and I hope that more people get to watch it and really follow it. I know I will, definitely. And starting this new decade, like you said, it's about change, and we need more of it. And it's I don't know. I just, the only word I have for it is excitement.
You're overwhelmed with emotion, and I understand.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, it's I think it's important. Ralph, I mean, obviously, for someone like yourself, who seen what's been going on in the women's game in the United States. Obviously, we see what's going on with England, where the best player in the world for the women's game is an English woman. It almost as if, for the Paraguayans and the South American girls, they can take influence from that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what we saw is traditionally that the women's game was kind of dominated by the US for a long time. And now what we've seen with a lot of US players going over to, well, quite a few in England, actually, in Man United, Man City, Tottenham, have Alex Morgan, of course. We've seen, wow, the European game growing. And this will be really exciting if they do get to this Copa Intercontinental, where you start seeing, okay, what about the South Americans against some of the best women's teams in Europe? It's also interesting to mention that although Brazil do have these stars, as far as I'm aware, it's not just Brazil that's the powerhouse in South America. Where you really look at it, somewhere like Colombia. Colombia's had games, women's games where pre-COVID times were playing in tens of thousands of people. It's the same in Mexico, by the way, in CONCACAF. But in Colombia, I mean, it's a very strong league. It pays a lot better, of course, than maybe even Argentina, Chile, and places. And that's where some, we've seen Paraguayan players go. And actually this week, Fanny Gauto, who's the captain of Santa Fe in Colombia, she won the title. She's a Paraguayan, of course. She picked up the title with Santa Fe. She plays as like a number 10. And I mean, that means they're into the Libertadores. So they could be one of these teams thinking ahead now to if the Intercontinental happens, she could be one of those players. She actually moved to Colombia in 2017. She started with Huila. I think she was playing with Atletico Huila. Now she's gone to Santa Fe. And I mean, that's really good that you're seeing Paraguayan players kind of not just winning titles, but captaining a team to a title. And then you have, of course, in Europe, as we talked before, about Jessica Martinez. So, I mean, it's an exciting time. What I think will be interesting is next year for the women's game in Paraguay is take a look at some of the under-20s, under-17s, because they'll be playing. I think there was some talk about if the coach was going to leave, the Albiroja, but they've confirmed today. They say she's in charge at least for 2021. So let's see what starts happening with some of those young players, and do they get to make these big moves that we're talking about, because it's an exciting time, and it's of course this market that's opening so much. Like I was saying, I mean, it's not just about the US anymore. There's a lot of interest in Europe. There's these growing leagues in South America or in Latin America. And let's hope that when fans start going back to stadiums, that will help the women's game so much, because there's such an exposure as well for people to start watching the game that maybe they don't see on TV, because the game still isn't, especially in Latin America, the Copa Libertadores the women's Copa Libertadores is not shown at the same level as the men's on TV. So for TV audiences, you're not having that exposure, but the going to the games is just as accessible. And they're playing in big stadiums. One more thing on Fanny Gauto before I forget. I mean, that was in El Campín. They were playing in the national stadium in Bogotá. It's not like they're playing in small stadiums. And even when there were fans, they could be selling out a large proportion of that stadium. It's the same in Mexico. They can often get 40,000 plus to these games. So I mean, it's huge crowds, and there's this great market there. So let's hope that things can keep growing for next year.
Definitely. And that ambition, as you said, for the national team. I mean, we've seen under 17s and I think under 20s make it to World Cups. Now it's time for those type of talents to hopefully see Paraguay in a World Cup. I mean, they haven't qualified to one since, and hopefully with the ambition and the kind of, trying to trust the process in that sense, that it helps them achieve that goal, which is to make the World Cup in 2023. So it's been fun. It's fun. It's good news for the game. I think it's a long time coming, honestly. And yeah, we will definitely see what the South Americans and of course our Paraguayan women's players can do for this competition. But guys, I mean, let's. I got nothing else on the docket, honestly. And again, it's been fun. I mean, I can't believe we're about to end the year, thankfully on a high note, I would say. But it's been fun to do these shows, and hopefully that heading into 2021, where we got a lot going on, that we can continue providing all the kind of excitement that our game in Paraguay has, be it the men's game, the women's game, whatever it may be. We are going to be super excited for that. So, for myself, Roberto Rojas, for Fede Perez, Maria Britos, and Ralph Hanna, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Guarani Vision. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and see you in 2021.